The sound of crystal blocks shattering echoed from the void before them, and in an instant, the seemingly stable gate of the celestial realm before them began to crumble piece by piece. Such a divine artifact wouldn't easily shatter, but this was merely the sign that the two women had together broken the gate of the celestial realm. The gate of the celestial realm has been breached. Xiao Yin narrowed his eyes, appearing somewhat puzzled. Once we enter the center of the immortal realm, remember to keep your distance from the heavenly emperor, and do not reveal your identity as a descendant of the Xiao clan. Forget it. This is an icy silken veil, a divine artifact used for disguise. Quickly put it on. It'll save us from unnecessary trouble. After a moment's thought, Yao Ling gently shook her head and took out a cold, veil-like silken scarf from her robe. Understood. Seeing Yao Ling's request, Xiao Yin had no choice but to comply. However, as soon as he applied this divine artifact, a mysterious force surged over his face, forming a plain, unremarkable mask that fused completely with his features. This, even we can't detect it? Yun and Yuru looked at Xiao Yin after his disguise. His appearance had undergone a complete transformation, to the point where even they couldn't sense any subtle differences. It seemed that as long as Xiao Yin didn't release his Xiao clan aura or remove the veil, ordinary people would never discover his true identity. Let's go. The gate of the celestial realm is very mysterious. Though it's been somewhat corrupted by evil forces, it's not a major problem. We've only managed to tear open a small passage with our combined efforts. With their worries cleared, Yun smiled charmingly. Let's go. Someone's coming. Just as they finished, the void suddenly warped. Black demonic clouds appeared out of nowhere, bringing with them an evil aura that made Xiao Yan's expression darken. Whoosh! The four figures leaped into the gate of the celestial realm and were swept into the heart of the immortal realm. As Xiao Yin and the others disappeared, the evil aura was left behind, unable to enter the gate. It seemed that their mission was to guard the vast abyss outside. After an experience filled with strange sights and sounds, the center of the immortal realm quietly unfolded before Xiao Yin and the others. So this is the so-called center of the immortal realm? It's magnificent beyond words, sacred, refreshing, and truly the dream training ground of countless cultivators. As they entered through the gate of the celestial realm into the heart of the immortal realm, the air was filled with soothing energies that flowed from the void, quietly entering Xiao Yan's body, filling him with a sense of indescribable comfort. Even the usually dormant reincarnation power showed signs of growth. The spiritual energy in the center of the immortal realm was so dense. Looking around, the so-called center of the immortal realm didn't have towering mountains or flowing rivers. Instead, it seemed like an endless passageway that stretched out before them. Here, while the celestial energy was abundant, Xiao Yin and the others found that all their spiritual perceptions seemed to be restricted by some sort of rule. They couldn't use them at all. Even half-step soul wandering realm's spiritual power was restricted. The void in the center of the immortal realm must truly hold some mystery. This is the center of the immortal realm. What appears before us is the glazed lantern path. It's like a cylindrical passage, yet it conceals great secrets within. Within the glazed lantern path, there are 16 divine palaces, which are the residences of the 16 powerful beings in the center of the immortal realm. Each divine palace may seem simple, but it hides its own secrets. The beings who live here are at least at the 4th reincarnation stage, so each palace is like a small world created by a few powerful beings. Yao Ling spoke lightly, pride shining in her voice as she explained the glazed lantern path and the 16 divine palaces. The 16 divine palaces, 16 small worlds, were the handiwork of the most powerful beings in the immortal realm. This was the true foundation of the immortal realm. The 16 powerful beings were all at least at the 4th reincarnation stage, and this lineup, even in the Great Thousand Worlds, would be enough to dominate. Even without counting the Yaoqi Saintess, there are still 12 powerful beings above the 4th reincarnation stage. With such a lineup, the two half-demonic gods would never be able to handle it. What exactly are they planning? Looking at this shocking world before him, Xiao Yin couldn't help but shake his head. The extraterritorial evil clan was making such a grand attempt to invade the center of the immortal realm, clearly not without preparation. But based on the information they had, it seemed like this invasion was akin to seeking death. The Deputy Realm Lord of the Immortal Realm Center is known as the Xun'er King of War. Even she was only vaguely aware of the Lioli lamp and had spoken out all the information she knew. Be careful. The two half-demonic gods have been here for quite some time. This place is probably fraught with danger. Xiaoyan's expression turned cautious. However, without the power of his soul, one of his arms was effectively crippled. Let's go. As soon as the words were spoken, the four of them headed toward the 16 divine palaces before them. Though the 16 palaces appeared to be far apart, they were secretly linked. Due to the constraints of the Void's rules, they could not directly enter the palace where the Heavenly Emperor resided. They could only approach one palace at a time. The 16th Divine Palace, the residence of Immortal Master Ling Butterfly. Crack, crack, hoo-hoo. Before stepping into this divine palace, just the sight of the grand and solemn plaque filled their hearts with a sense of reverence. Immortal Master Ling Butterfly raises spirit butterflies and is in charge of gathering various intelligence from the center of the immortal realm. She is a particularly gentle and beautiful older sister. Let's go take a look. Yao Ling's memories surfaced, and she smiled as she led the others into the palace. Hoo-hoo. As soon as they entered Immortal Master Ling Butterfly's residence, the world around them spun, and a small world appeared before their eyes. At the peak of towering mountains stood a lush forest courtyard, where spirit butterflies, on the verge of death, fluttered into Xiaoyan and the others' view. The wings and bodies of these spirit butterflies were scorched with black flames, leaving behind horrific, burn marks. It was a sight too tragic to endure. It seems the situation in the center of the immortal realm is much more dire than I imagined. A sense of regret suddenly appeared in Xiaoyan's heart, and the expressions of the four grew solemn. They all turned their gaze toward the only wooden house at the center of the courtyard. There, a faint green light still flickered. Yao Ling clearly remembered that the green light was the origin of Immortal Master Ling Butterfly's power. An uneasy feeling lingered in her heart, and even her lips seemed to murmur, as if she was praying for something. Stay here. I'll go check it out. Holding his breath, Xiaoyan stepped forward, his gaze fixed on the wooden house in the small world. Without the power of his soul, he relied solely on intuition and years of battle experience to predict the danger ahead. The center of the immortal realm was now a place fraught with peril. One misstep could lead to a deadly chain of mistakes. Xiaoyan believed that with his current strength, even if he used his demonic powers and the god-slaying ruler, he still wouldn't be able to handle two half-demonic gods at once, not to mention other powerful entities like those at the Red King stage. Xiaoyan. Yun watched the man moving cautiously before her, her red lips slightly pursed, concern obvious in her expression. If something were to happen here, she feared she would be the first to rush out. After all, the current position Xiaoyan held in Yun's heart was perhaps more significant than ever before. Creak. He gently pushed open the door, but there was no strange sound. Xiaoyan furrowed his brow and scanned the dilapidated wooden house. His eyes finally stopped at a cyan-colored vessel. The vessel was protected by special energy shields, clearly used for cultivating certain life forms. Inside, numerous spirit cocoons of various sizes were scattered, but none exuded any signs of life. Instead, a faint red evil aura surrounded them, giving off an overwhelming sense of unease. This fluctuation undoubtedly comes from the extraterritorial evil clan. And judging by the intensity of this evil energy, the ones behind this aren't just the two half-demonic gods. Xiaoyan's eyes narrowed slightly, and after a moment, the evil power in his hand disappeared. In its place, a cold, sharp gleam flickered in his eyes. Having dealt with the extraterritorial evil clan countless times, he could easily sense the vague strength of the ones behind this evil force. Even at the Red King stage, their power is formidable. At that moment, Yuru suddenly stepped out from behind Xiaoyan. She looked at the vessel and the ruined state of the room, then spoke solemnly. Immortal Master Ling Butterfly, may have met with misfortune. After a brief pause, Yun's eyes flashed with a glimmer of dark light. She searched the room again, then shook her head slightly. I don't think this senior has encountered any misfortune. The reason the two half-demonic gods gathered forces so suddenly is likely because they fear something within the immortal realm center. Or perhaps they have an even more terrifying plan. Xiao shook his head, not agreeing with Yun's theory. This time, the invasion by the extraterritorial evil clan came too suddenly. Even the powerful forces stationed at the dimensional rift, like the Grand Thousand Palace and the central forces of the human realm, did not send any word. It must have been a covert act by the two half-demonic gods. Otherwise, if a great battle between the heavens and earth were to break out, with the vast numbers of the extraterritorial evil clan, there would be no other way for them to enter the Great Thousand Worlds except through the dimensional rift. Although it's unclear how they managed to bring such a large portion of the extraterritorial evil clan into the immortal realm, Xiao felt that their actions seemed more like they were imprisoning them. Suppressed and bound, unable to resist or escape, they could only stay in the immortal realm like prisoners, preparing to attack the heart of the immortal realm. It felt more like they were being kept there to be raised. Once the rulers were overthrown, it was likely they would become blood slaves and blood food for their captors. If the immortal realm center is completely crushed under their command, the entire celestial realm might cease to exist, Xiao thought. By then, while Xiao pondered, Yuru sighed. Though it was the worst-case scenario, she spoke with a calm, resigned tone. Thinking about this now is probably premature. Let's go. Let's check out the next divine palace. Follow me. Yaoling also appeared troubled. She waved her hand, leading the group of 3 out of the area. A few minutes later, the 15th Divine Palace, Thunder Beast Immortal Sovereign's Divine Palace. Thunder Beast Immortal Sovereign, at the peak of the fourfold reincarnation stage. The main gate of the Divine Palace was opened, and following the signs, they silently entered. The small world here was shrouded in mist, with towering mountains emerging from the clouds, each peak streaked with fierce silver lightning. Under the silver lightning, many evil forces and people with ill intentions had no choice but to quietly submit. At the core of 10 mountains stood a perilous thunder peak, surrounded by constant thunderous roars. A terrifying wave of energy spread across the entire world, creating deafening, violent energy fluctuations. Let's go. The 4 exchanged glances and braved the overwhelming silver lightning, heading toward the Thunder Peak where the Thunder Beast Immortal Sovereign once resided. Though the lightning was incredibly terrifying and obstructed their progress, 5 minutes later, they reached the top of the Thunder Peak. At the peak was a vast plaza, with several circular altars scattered across it. Standing in the middle, one could clearly feel the convergence of countless thunderbolts, indicating that this was where the Thunder Beast Immortal Sovereign had cultivated and resided. Even Xiao, now under the immense pressure of these thunderbolts, could feel his arms growing numb from the force. After a moment, the 4 began to scatter, carefully searching for any trace of the Thunder Beast Immortal Sovereign. Given their current situation, they dared not proceed recklessly. They could only move cautiously, hoping to find a powerful figure who might understand what was happening and help come up with a strategy. No sign of the Thunder Beast Immortal Sovereign, Yaoling said darkly as she approached Xiao. The powerful beings at the center of the immortal realm were typically domineering and strong. Even those at the fourfold reincarnation stage were usually comparable to those at the fivefold reincarnation stage. So why had they been disappearing one after another? Look, what's that? Amidst their confusion, Yun, unexpectedly, discovered a hidden cave at the base of the Thunder Peak's cliff. The cave's edge is surrounded by thunder restrictions. Seems like there's something inside. Step back a bit. Xiao narrowed his eyes, and from the faint traces nearby, it was clear that something had hurriedly entered the cave. The shallow footprints left on the plaza made it easy to track. Thunder, come! Xiao roared, drawing flames into his body, and a wisp of gray thunder spread outward. As the gray thunder appeared, the silver lightning that had been buzzing on the Thunder Peak and surrounding mountains suddenly fell eerily silent. It seemed as though the silver lightning feared the gray thunder and dared not make a sound. This is Thunder attribute? Looking at the thunderous power on Xiao Yin and the fear the silver lightning emitted, the three women spoke in unison. Although in the Great Thousand Worlds, there were many who mastered two attributes, the idea of someone possessing both sacred flame and a thunder power even stronger than the thunder beast immortal sovereigns was unthinkable. After all, just finding a thunder source or the sacred flame would take an enormous amount of time. To have both powers combined in one person was beyond comprehension. A sense of envy quietly surfaced in their hearts. But moments later, Yun and Yuru, lightly touching the legacies left on them by their powerful masters, smiled with relief. Xiao Yin, naturally unaware of the women's thoughts, focused solely on unleashing the thunderous power to break the thunder restrictions before them. No. The moment the thunder barrier shattered, a terrified and uneasy voice trembled from deep within the cave. There are still living beings. Go. Hearing the fearful and trembling voice, the four of them were overwhelmed with a surge of excitement, and they rushed into the cave in an instant. Inside the cave, the ground was covered in silver lightning radiance, and waves of thunderous energy crackled, sending shivers down their spines. Is this the thunder beast raised by the thunder beast immortal sovereign? As the four of them followed the voice deeper into the cave, a grim expression immediately appeared on Yaoling's face. Before them lay a thunder beast, about dozens of yards in size, resembling a thunderous lion, but with subtle differences. The once majestic silver scales covering its body had mysteriously disappeared in large patches, revealing the sight of fresh, rotten flesh stained with blood. Blood dripped from its body, and the thunder beast lay limply on the ground, its eyes filled with terror, as if it had endured some great trauma. The thunder beast immortal sovereign's thunder beast. The two were inseparable, working together seamlessly. Even some powerful beings at the quasi-fifth reincarnation stage couldn't resist them. In that moment, Yaoling also realized the gravity of the situation. Yaoling! As a sweet voice called out, the thunder beast's body suddenly shook. Its eyes snapped open, revealing a painful and tortured expression. However, as it looked at the four of them, the fear in its eyes gradually faded. Senior, what exactly happened? Yuru and Xiao Yin exchanged glances before speaking in unison. It seemed that for now, they could only direct their questions toward the Thunder Beast. It was a disaster. Two mysterious powerhouses infiltrated the heart of the immortal realm. They came from the 16th Divine Palace and slaughtered their way through. It was a massacre, a crushing one. It was like hell. Even now, when I think back, I still feel a wave of fear in my heart. They were too strong. The two who entered the heart of the immortal realm were too strong. Just one of them made a move. With less than 3 moves, the immortal sovereign was defeated. The whole battle, there was no room for retaliation. The thunder beast howled in agony, its voice full of sorrow. 3 moves, and they defeated the thunder beast immortal sovereign? Hearing the thunder beast's description, the four of them felt a deep sense of dread, as if struck by a thunderclap. If the true evil god had descended, and with just 3 moves, defeated the thunder beast immortal sovereign, who possessed combat strength comparable to the quasi-fifth reincarnation stage, Xiao Yin would naturally believe it. But could a half-demonic god truly possess such overwhelming power? Was there an unfathomable force that the half-demonic god wielded? Or had their strength reached an unfathomable level? Xiao Yin preferred to believe in the first possibility. Senior, when they attacked this divine palace, did they have any hostages? Xiao Yin suddenly slapped his head, as if remembering something. When they attacked, besides the 2 mysterious powerhouses, there were countless magical clouds behind them, and within the clouds, there was a faint trace of immortal Master Ling Butterfly's aura. And when they finally defeated the immortal sovereign, they didn't kill him. Instead, they simply knocked him unconscious and took him away. They seemed to be heading towards the next divine palace. The Thunder Beast's eyes filled with regret. Senior, protect your mind. I will heal your wounds and expel the evil energy. After organizing the information, Xiao Yin sat cross-legged and began to channel the flame mantra. No. Kid, stop. These evil forces will corrode your mind. Is that the sacred flame? The Thunder Beast struggled violently, seemingly wanting to break free from Xiao Yan's healing, but as the flame mantra was activated, the appearance of the small flame cauldron and the glazed flames made the Thunder Beast's pupils constrict in fear. Ah! A heart-wrenching howl echoed from the Thunder Beast's mouth. This creature was severely injured, and even with the sacred flames healing, the pain it endured was beyond what any ordinary being could imagine. Whoosh whoosh! After a quarter of an hour, the howling finally ceased, and the cave grew silent once more. You four, the Thunder Beast, in a state of recovering vitality, couldn't help but speak. We came here to stop those people. Yaoling stepped forward confidently. Though her strength was weak, she was brimming with confidence. Clearly, when they parted ways, the heavenly pool of Jade Pool must have entrusted her with certain treasures. Especially given the heavenly pool of Jade Pool status, the items she provided were likely one of the top 10 divine artifacts in the Immortal realm. No, absolutely not. Your strength is far too weak. Even with a divine artifact, you are no match for them. You are walking to your deaths. The Thunder Beast suddenly howled madly, its expression grim. Senior, the Moon God Palace has fallen. I'm already enemies with the extraterritorial evil clan. The Floral God Palace is the same. The Jade Pool Wonderland. The three women made their declarations, their eyes burning with a powerful killing intent that even Xiao Yin found intimidating. A true hero doesn't fall behind men. Two great powerhouses have fallen? The Floral God Palace Master and the Moon God Palace Master are among the most powerful in the center of the Immortal realm. Have they actually fallen? Time is of the essence. Senior, please stay here and block the only retreat of the extraterritorial evil clan. We will continue ahead, Yaoling said, biting her lip as everything had already been made clear. There is only one entrance and exit to the Immortal Realm Center. As for whether the First Divine Palace, where the Heavenly Emperor resides, has an exit, that remains unknown. In the past, many talented reincarnation experts attempted to challenge the center of the Celestial Realm, but unfortunately, none succeeded in reaching the end of their challenge. All of them fell, lost to the passage of time and history. But the Thunder Beast's eyes surged violently as it looked at the four imposing figures before it. These mere women have such a strong sense of righteousness, yet here it is, hiding away, scared to die? Xiao Yin, what are you doing? As they conversed, they noticed the space around them starting to ripple, while Xiao Yin, who had been silent, was brimming with power inside. This is the Heavenly Demon Array. Even the extraterritorial army would likely be able to hold on for at least one incense stick's time. Senior, please remain here. Xiao Yin took his time, compressing all his spiritual power and then, with the core inscriptions, formed the Heavenly Demon Array on his palm. A formation of 590,000 array patterns. The Thunder Beast's eyes narrowed slightly, looking at Xiao Yin with a gaze akin to seeing a monster. A Heavenly Demon Array with 590,000 array patterns is enough to intercept any extraterritorial evil clan expert below the 6th reincarnation stage. Moreover, the strength of this array is not one-dimensional. It's a group-based array. This means, as long as no one from the 6th reincarnation stage intervenes, the array can hold off the extraterritorial forces for an incense stick's time. This is the power of a Do Array Master. However, Xiao Yan's actions now mean that, in the next phase of their mission, he won't be able to use his spiritual power to construct any more arrays. This is a gamble. Good. Let's split up. The group immediately took action. If my immortal realm has such talents, how could we not thrive? The Thunder Beast muttered, quietly heading toward the exit. It deployed the Heavenly Demon Array, which spread out like an impenetrable net, completely enveloping the center of the immortal realm. In a normal state, common people wouldn't even notice the array's presence. But once they touched the edge of the array would activate, and the one incense stick of invincibility would begin to count down. This time, they would either fall and be trapped in the center of the celestial realm, or transform from a serpent into a dragon, making the world tremble before them. Meanwhile, in the tense situation at the center of the immortal realm, Xun'er, who had remained hidden, was secretly carrying out a plan. This seems to be the entrance to the Immortal realm. Why did Little E and Princess Qianqin leave a signal for me to create a soul clone to deceive the Alchemy Holy Hall? Brother Xiao is just participating in the second trial now. Xun'er, like a hidden sprite in the void, quietly arrived at the Rift of Heaven, the entrance to the Immortal realm's center. Sister-in-law over here. Let's go. Easily, before Xiao even began his second trial, Xun'er and the others had already stepped into the center of the Immortal realm. Clearly, this was because the Grand Elder had given Princess Qianqin certain information and a mission. This is the center of the Immortal realm. According to the information the Grand Elder gave me, there's a special place here that houses the Water Spirit Pearl. The Water Spirit Pearl. It's the most powerful item related to the safety of the entire Great Thousand Worlds. As the three gathered, Princess Qianqin squinted, her gaze unconsciously shifting toward the void behind them, which had no retreat. They had just entered the center of the Immortal realm. Ahead were the 16 divine palaces of the glazed lantern path. Behind them, however, lay endless darkness and a spatial barrier that sealed off time. At this moment, both Princess Qianqin and Little E focused their attention on the dark void behind them. Did you find it? Little E's expression tightened as she looked at the divine palaces around them, feeling nervous. Now, they had rashly entered the center of the Immortal realm. If they were discovered, their fate would be inevitable. Let's go this way. After some complicated confirmations, Princess Qianqin spoke up. There's no way forward here. Xun'er clearly realized the gravity of the situation, but wore a puzzled expression. Heh. Most people only know of the 16 divine palaces in the glazed lantern path. They don't know that in the opposite direction is the prison for those who dare intrude upon the center of the Immortal realm, and the forbidden land secretly set up by the Heavenly Emperor. Thud. Under the scorching light of an ancient flame, the seemingly seamless void suddenly twisted, and the three were drawn into it. Time passed unnoticed. The trio didn't know how long they had been traveling, just following Princess Qianqin. With Xun'er's keen senses, she seemed to notice an ancient, fearsome aura emanating from Princess Qianqin. That was given to her by the Grand Elder. Little E explained with a smile. Whom? With the ancient power secretly bestowed by the Grand Elder to Princess Qianqin, the three of them quietly tore through the void and entered a sacred place full of restrictions. What was even stranger was that, whether due to the Heavenly Emperor's absolute confidence or some other reason, there was no defensive force at the entire rear forbidden area, which was highly unusual. The source of the aura should be here. As Princess Qianqin finished speaking, a burst of bright light flashed before the three, and their vision slowly returned. What appeared before their eyes was an ancient island quietly standing in the sky, pierced by 6 ancient divine chains. From a distance, the entire space seemed filled with an extremely ancient and desolate atmosphere. Even the floating island and the 6 divine chains were imbued with a sense of destruction, as if they had experienced some cataclysmic battle and had been silent for countless years. The only item hovering in the void was the broken island's edge, which seemed to bear incomplete, mysterious patterns. Xun'er gazed up, and a sudden dizziness overtook her. However, as she looked at this thing, her mind involuntarily recalled Xiao figure. It seemed like these patterns had once appeared on Brother Xiao. Is the Water Spirit Pearl located within the island? Charge. Little E stuck out her tongue and licked her lips, speaking with a slightly heated tone. Although even the Grand Elder did not know how to use the Water Spirit Pearl, if they could obtain it, there would surely be great benefits. Little E also knew that her second brother, Xiao, possessed the Fire Spirit Pearl, so the Water Spirit Pearl must be obtained at all costs. Yaoji's power. Princess Qianqin immediately stopped Little E. She raised her jade hand, and a beautiful Yaoji statue emerged from her bosom, instantly turning into fine powder and floating toward the ancient island. Rip. Whoosh. Bang, bang, bang. The powder, like a chaotic force from the beginning of the world, flew into the air above the ancient island. Waves of violent and vicious energy surged forth, shattering the island completely. Along with it, the concealed sealing forces around the island also vanished. Let's go. Let's see if we can obtain the water spirit pearl. Once she finished speaking, the three of them moved into action. The island's outer edges and even the island itself looked broken, but it gave them a rather mysterious feeling. Sister-in-law, did you guys notice? This island seems to resemble some animal's body. It looks like a hunchbacked turtle. For some reason, when Littley stepped onto the island, he suddenly blurted out these words. Moreover, he couldn't shake the unsettling feeling that crept into his heart, making him feel uneasy. Quickly, Princess Xun'er and Xun'er exchanged a glance, clearly having explained the important details on the way. They couldn't afford to waste time on Little Yi's worries and moved forward. The broken island was desolate, but in the center of this roughly 1-kilometer island, there was a piece of blue rock. Where exactly is the water spirit pearl? Little Yi followed behind, still preoccupied with the island, but his mouth continued to murmur about it. This blue rock. This rock has 3 indentations? Could it need 3 keys? Although she hid it well, Xun'er crouched down and immediately noticed something odd at a concealed corner of the rock. Let's try it. If we can't get the water spirit pearl, we might have to resort to that method. Princess Xun'er seemed to have known this all along. I have a feeling this trip to the Immortal realm is part of some scheme. Little Yi suddenly had a sense of dread, his eyes fixed on the desolate land around them. That's exactly why we came. Otherwise, if the water spirit pearl, such a treasure that could impact the great 1,000 worlds, falls into the hands of the extraterritorial evil clan, boom. Before Princess Xun'er could finish speaking, the entire island trembled violently, and a brilliant beam of blue energy shot out from an unknown location, causing the entire world to shake. Have we been discovered? Xun'er's brow flashed with a golden light mark, and sacred flames erupted as she remained vigilant of her surroundings. It doesn't seem like we've been discovered. It feels more like we've disturbed the island's guardian. But this blue energy, I feel like I've seen it before. Princess Xun'er muttered, shaking her head as she tried to recall. Boom! The ancient forbidden island trembled again. The sound of their battle echoed loudly through the sky, yet it did not alert any powerful beings at the heart of the Immortal realm. At this very moment, in the center of the Immortal realm, the mighty beings of the 16 divine palaces were overwhelmed, as they were being captured and devoured by the extraterritorial evil clan. Xun'er and the others were still trying to find a way to retrieve the water spirit pearl. In contrast, the heavenly pool of Jade Pool and the others were also working together to consolidate the countless forces of the upper 3 heavens of the Immortal realm. Now, they were slowly converging toward the center of the Immortal realm. The true battle, it seemed, was about to erupt soon. As for Xiao and the others, they were cautiously crossing through one divine palace after another, heading deeper into the realm. However, palaces like the one belonging to the Floral God Palace's master were completely empty, with barely any signs of damage. Quite strange indeed. Moreover, in every divine palace they passed, aside from the disappearance of the mighty figures who had once resided there, there seemed to be no other signs of loss or abnormalities. In the deep recesses of the glazed lamp, within the boundless, profound void. At the 3rd divine palace, Taishu Divine Palace, the miniature world here resembled a land of daylight stars. At this moment, thick, swirling demonic clouds tightly enveloped the outer perimeter of the 3rd divine palace, while within the divine palace's miniature world, several unexpected guests had arrived. Inside the palace, lightning storms raged in the sky, shaking the entire daylight star world, with the void slightly warping. Waves of terrifying evil fluctuations continuously writhed, clearly indicating that a fierce battle had already taken place here. Break! A chilling low growl echoed across the entire miniature world, disorienting the mind. Countless shattered light mirrors in the void gathered once more, forming a blinding dark red beam of light that enveloped the entire world. In this strange, dark red world, countless dense black beams transformed into monstrous creatures brimming with overwhelming evil power, their gazes converging at the core. Above the world, the evil clouds rolled, resembling an apocalyptic scene. 2 figures, seemingly thin, quietly stood within, proudly gazing down from the heavens. The immense pressure they radiated caused the void of this miniature world to hum incessantly. Such an extraordinary energy fluctuation could hardly be produced by ordinary beings. Behind them, formidable evil figures silently followed. The Black Demon, the Withered Bone Corpse Demon, and two unfamiliar figures. As for the two figures standing proudly in the sky, they were the main force now attacking the center of the immortal realm. The two half-demonic gods. The Dark Demon, appearing like a slender young man with sharp features, dressed in neat dark red robes, his long dark red hair adding to his eerie and demonic appearance. Additionally, no matter how one observed, it seemed impossible to sense any energy emanating from him, let alone detect any difference between him and the half-demonic gods of the extraterritorial evil clan. Beside him stood the Bloodstone Evil Sovereign, easier to recognize. His fierce face bore several crimson blood streaks, a permanent mark left by sacred power that could never be erased. Blood-red residual sunlight surged around his body, giving him a kingly aura. Beneath the six of them, a figure with tightly furrowed brows sat quietly on a meditation mat, exuding an ethereal and otherworldly presence. Taishu Immortal, if your strength is only at this level, perhaps you should not waste our time here trying to stop us. The Bloodstone Evil Sovereign shook his head slightly, then his eyes flashed with a blood-red ray, locking onto the slender figure sitting on the mat below. Bloodstone Evil Sovereign, Dark Demon. The First Heavenly War. You were nothing but minor pawns from the extraterritorial evil clan. Now, you have the audacity to barge into the center of my celestial realm. The figure on the meditation mat squinted, his hand subtly clenching. The previous battles had mostly been simple tests between both sides, without much intense fluctuation. This was the third of the 16 divine palaces, the Taishu Divine Palace, where the mighty Taishu Immortal resided, having reached the peak of the 5th reincarnation stage. I've heard that the Taishu Immortal wields one of the Immortal Realm's divine artifacts, the Taishu Armor. The Taishu Armor boasts incredible defense and can change its form at will, truly mysterious. It is even said to be second only to the ruler of the Immortal Realm, and his cultivation in the Taishu Sword Intent technique is rumored to be invincible. I wonder if that is true. The Bloodstone Evil Sovereign casually shifted his blood-streaked hair, revealing a terrifying, menacing expression. However, the sarcasm and killing intent in his words were unmistakable. Don't bother wasting your breath. With me here, this is your final destination. The Taishu Immortal slowly opened his eyes, a faint, ancient aura spreading out like an energy tide. The fluctuations in power were terrifying. Stop talking nonsense. Old man Taishu, do you see what this is? A cold smile appeared on the Bloodstone Evil Sovereign's lips. Just as he spoke, the Withered Bone Corpse Demon and the red-clad woman who had once guarded the Alchemy Holy Hall appeared behind him. With a wave of their hands, several figures appeared, standing in the void. Ling Butterfly Immortal Master? Thunder Beast Immortal Sovereign? Nine Heavens Mysterious Maiden? Looking at the familiar figures before him, the Taishu Immortal's expression suddenly turned strange, and a sense of unease surged within him. The people before him seemed to have lost their instincts, fallen into a deep coma. Above their heads, a purple-gold glow continually drained their primordial power and life force. Once their life force and primordial essence are completely drained, they would either fall into reincarnation or be utterly destroyed, both body and soul. The strength of so many individuals was not to be underestimated. How could they all be captured now? Get to it, don't waste time. Bloodstone Evil Sovereign shook his head and immediately retreated to one side, seemingly not intending to make a move himself. However, his gaze seemed to transcend the confines of this small world, looking toward the Second Divine Palace and even the First Divine Palace. That, after all, was his ultimate goal. As long as he defeats the ruler who controls the entire immortal realm, advancing to the Evil God stage would be an inevitable step. Once he enters the Evil God stage, his power and status among the extraterritorial evil clan would rise dramatically. The resources and support he would receive could never be compared to what he enjoys now. Whoosh, it's almost here. The dark demon beside him remained calm, as if calculating something in silence, a mysterious air surrounding him.
Attack!
The withered bone corpse demon and the red-haired succubus exchanged a glance, then simultaneously soared into the air, charging toward the Taishu Immortal. This attack on the Immortal realm was initially led by the Dark Demon and Bloodstone Evil Sovereign. They had concealed their plans from the other leaders of the evil gods in the extraterritorial Evil Clan, going to great lengths to traverse the void. They had even promised countless benefits to the 4 Red King stage and evil monsters who followed them. It seemed everything was ready, and once the center of the Immortal realm was destroyed, their grand plans could be flawlessly executed. The 4 Red King stage warriors, along with the 2 half-demonic gods and the evil artifacts in their hands, had managed to cut their way all the way to the 3rd Divine Palace.